watching Pam Entertainment TV, where we review movies, television series, and incidents in pop culture just to see how those incidents may or may not affect our daily lives. Listen, we are on a roll today. If you haven't checked out my non-spoiler review of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse, go ahead and check that out. I will be doing a spoiler review up here soon. I want to give people the opportunity to go see it. I figure by Sunday I can give a spoiler review, because that has given folks enough time over the weekend to go see it. So go see it. Go see it. That's all I'm going to say. Go, 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 go. So today, y'all, we are going to go over, you know what? See, this is what happens when you're so excited to get out here and to do this review that you hadn't done just the simple stuff. I watched this episode. We are talking about Altanta, season 3, episode 8, and I believe it was called No Jazz. Now, I will tell you, once again, I watched some of these episodes, and I think they have a deeper meaning than what I am looking at. And this is why I love for you all to get down in the comments and converse with me to let me know if I'm on track or if I'm off track. So let's go. So we see Darius and Ern, aka Paperboi, in a cafe eating. I don't know if that's the part of the restaurant, because they're still in Amsterdam. They're still touring Europe. It doesn't look like they're still hooked up with that other crew. Excuse me. Now that I mention it, they don't look like they still hooked up with that other crew. The one that, anyway, they just came to my head. That other crew that they had that helped them start this tour. So they're down, and Darius is real excited because they're going to go to this cafe, this coffee shop that sells this, weed cookie. That's what it looked like to me, or weed wafer edible. That's supposed to get you so high. And they're excited about that. And now, mind you, one of the things that we start to see in this episode is Darius ain't got no money. Or Darius is doing a situation where he's not spending his money. And so Paperboi is starting to see that he's paying for everything. Now, take that. That's an interesting thing. I want you to keep. This is my thought process. So they asked. Paperboi is not Ern. They asked Ernest if he wanted to go. He's like, no, because Ern is on his managing thing. He is on his stuff. He is on what he does, when he does it, and how he does it. So he is definitely making sure that all this stuff is going, because he made a statement. Now, is this y'all gonna be doing something that's gonna cancel our I guess artist insurance or something like that? He says, I don't want to know what you're doing. Just go ahead and do it. Don't tell me, so it won't. I can't be, I can't say I knew that you were going to do whatever it was you were going to do. And I guess them eating this weed cookie is I don't know. So anyway, they're walking around, and Darius is trying to get. Darius gets to the place, and it takes him a little bit to get to this place. They get to it. Darius pronounces what he wants, and he puts the money on the table. And the man said, "That's not enough for that." And Darius is sitting up in here. I'll just let the universe guide me. I'll let the universe guide me. Let me tell you, I hollered. Because all you had to do was turn around and say, hey, man, I want us to experience this thing, but I ain't got enough. So you can tell that Paperboi is starting to get a little irritated with the fact that he's having to pay for a lot of stuff. And side note, listen, you'd have a little bit more money, or it's interesting how you are worried about money now, when a couple of episodes you were just throwing money in the streets. You see what I'm saying? They're doing all this number right here, throwing money in the streets. And I guess when you start doing all of that work, you're wanting to see what your payoff is. And he's starting to think about that. He's starting to think about, what is the payoff for me financially for doing what I'm doing? So they get this little weed cookie that sits on top of the coffee, and they got to let the heat from the coffee, get into it or whatever, and they eat it. Darius feels, after a few minutes of them sitting there eating and stuff like that, Paperboy says he doesn't feel anything. Darius says, "Oh, I feel it," and they're going to this next spot. Now Darius doesn't know where it's at. He has his app on his phone, and they're walking, and they seem to be walking in circles and walking in circles. And Darius is just like, you could tell that he is high, because he's just a little erratic. Not, not more than usual for Darius, but he is just a little erratic when they're looking for this particular spot. They lose sight of each other because, and an interesting thing too was his hat. Paperboy had this purple hat that he had on, and he was very, very proud of this hat. And the hat was purple. And usually, purple for me signifies royalty or upper class or having money. And so he was very proud of that hat, and that was the symbolism that I got out of that hat. He was very proud of that hat. He even mentioned how that hat looked real good against his skin. And so he was walking around, and he was very proud of his hat. Well, Darius and Paperboy get separated, and then you have these white boys that are running around, and they notice Paperboy, and I mean they are running after, because they're causing havoc everywhere they go. They're running around causing havoc, to the point that Paperboy don't have no security, so it's just him. So he gets to run. It's 3-1. So he gets to walking really fast, and he ends up going into this door. And as he goes into the door, he peeps out. He sees that the white boys can't find him. So then the white boys decide they're going to terrorize this woman and her mother. This mother, they were going to terrorize this mother. They took her baby and started ping-ponging this baby around as if it wasn't a baby, just terrorizing the mother and things. So he closes the door real quick because he don't want no parts of that. And as he closes the door, he hears this woman crying. He goes in, he hears this woman crying, and she's trying to tell him, like, move. And he's like, what's wrong? Are you okay? And that's another thing. He is so oblivious to his surroundings. He zoomed in on this white woman crying, and his immediate response was to go to her, to help her. She's in trouble. She's not in trouble. And then when you decide to look around, you realize, oh, it's something else going on. But you're still trying to help this woman, and she's trying to tell you, move, leave that alone. I noticed that. So as we go in, he realizes that he's in an art gallery, and there's a lot of installations, some of them live installations and things like that. So that's what he walked up into, a live installation. So he realizes he's in an art gallery, but he doesn't know how to get out because he wants to get back out on the street so that he can meet up with Darius and go to this place that they had been talking about going. But he ends up sitting down and running into this woman. I think she said her name was either Lauren or Laverne. It's one of those two. I'll put it down here. She's talking to him, and I don't know how they got on the conversations, but they started talking about his career and his money, because she asked him, was he a rapper? And he says yes. So then she started questioning him about some things. She's like, who owns your masters? And he looked at her funny, like he didn't know. And she's like, that's the problem with y'all rappers. Y'all are out here doing all of this stuff, and y'all don't even know where your money's at. You don't even know what's making your money. She says, you don't know what your masters are? And he was like, what? She said, that's the master recording. She explains to him what that is. Who owns your masters? You don't even know who owns your masters. And then she started questioning his team around him. You're paying everything for her. She seemed to have knowledge about stuff that, he never did tell her. And she went to questioning all of this stuff, the knowledge that she had about, you've got your cousin being your manager. He don't know how to manage. You should have had somebody else, manage your stuff. And you got your friend out here, and he's bilking you for money and all of this other stuff. And she just kept going. And then she starts taking him to different places. And he's ended up in places that he didn't know, because I didn't think he realized that Lauren or Laverne, that she was part of the LGBTQ community until they went to the place where Liam Neeson was. because it was like a bar. They left out of the art exhibit, and they went back out on the street. But one of the things that she did that was that I found significant, because you remember I talked about that hat. She made him change his hat from the pretty purple hat that was crowned, and then she put a goofy hat on him. And so I, in terms, saying, like, he's feeling a little goofy about what's going on in his situation, because he's an artist, and most artists want to share their art, but there has to be a line of them sharing their art and then getting compensated for the art that they share with us, and it's only fair. And I don't know if I've talked to you all about this on this platform, about how there are, in the music industry, the artist gets paid the least because of the fact that there are so many middlemen that are getting paid. And they're getting paid simply because of the business of it all. Who owns the rights to the masters? Because when you sign these deals, you're pretty much signing away a lot of your creative stuff. Even if you create and produce, because you're the artist, you don't get as much as if somebody comes in and produces. So if you were an artist and you produced on somebody else's stuff, you'll get paid. They find some kind of loophole not to pay you or double pay you for your work. Excuse me, y'all. Child. That's the music business. God's trying to tell me to hush. But we'll keep going, child. You ain't gonna hush me. Anyway. I mean, a real bad tickle in my throat. So anyway, you see him going through all these different places, and there's different moods and shifts. And I think him going into the place where Laverne or Lauren, what she's known for, I think that was just a little thing about how sometimes some artists get caught up with or how they handle understanding and knowing that they may come across a trans woman. I guess that's what hit me. And who they can trust and who they can't trust. And once they get to a point of trust, because so now we're going to move on. There was this, let me stop here. There was a point where he sat down with Liam Neeson when they were in this bar. And Liam Neeson came, and you remember back a few years ago, well, this was during the pandemic, Liam was in a little hot water because he talked about one of his friends had gotten raped. He didn't know who raped her, but he just assumed it was a black man, and he decided that he was going to, whatever black man he came across, he was going to whoop their behinds. And that feeling of, his feeling of helplessness, the only thing that he felt like doing was causing harm to someone who harm wouldn't have come to. It's just that you're angry about the fact that your friend was violated, and instead of sitting there being there for your friend, you decide that you're going to cause havoc and confusion in that friend's name. So he's sitting around apologizing for it, and Paperboi is a little confused. He doesn't know how to take if whether or not that he actually is a racist or he's apologizing. He doesn't really know how to take all of that. And then what happens, because Lauren has brought him to this place, everybody knows that he's Paperboi. They're trying to get him to perform on stage for them. You know, Ernest's not there to negotiate that deal. All of these things are going on, but they're trying to pressure him to perform. So for some reason, Lauren gets him out of there. She pops him out of the back door, and it's daytime. Oh, I meant to tell you too. When he went into the art exhibit, it was daytime. When him and Lauren exited the art exhibit, it was nighttime. When they went into the club, it was nighttime. When they exit the club, it was daytime. So is a lot of time has expired. We don't know how much. Has it been 2 days? Or has it just been up, down? I don't know exactly what's going on. But anyway, he gets outside, and he's a little flustered, and he's a little flustered with Lauren, and Lauren is trying to talk to him. He says, "I don't know if I could trust you," or anything like that. Then, and they're going back and forth, and all of a sudden she says, "Your legs don't work." Your chest is heavy. And then he falls to the ground. And when he falls to the ground, Lauren leaves him sitting there. She just puts a blanket over him, and then she walks away. Now, why is this significant? Because it's daytime. Now, when Paperboy and Darius went to the cafe to get the coffee and the edible, they passed by a guy who was sitting in a doorway going, and Darius says, oh, you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that guy. And Paperboy looks at him and he keeps walking away. How about that guy? Remember when I said Lauren sat him down? And it told him that his mouth didn't work, his legs didn't work, and he's breathing heavy chest. When she sat him down and put the blanket over, literally Paperboy saw himself. That was Paperboy as they passed. So that was freaky within itself. So then the scene cuts, and Paperboy wakes up in the hotel room, and Earn is there, and Earn tells him, "Well, I found you on the ground. I found you on the ground, and I brought you up here. I had to take your clothes off because you had vomited all over yourself, and I had to, lay you down here, and you've been knocked out for the past 10 hours. So that edible done sent him through a whole lot of changes. And I think what we saw, all these places that Paperboy was going to, I think that those were places in his mind and thoughts that he's been having in his mind about how this tour is going on, and him starting to ask the questions of himself about certain things. Because he ends up asking Earn, like, when you negotiated my contract, when you negotiated my record deal, who owns my masters? And Earn tells him, well, he hesitated. He says, you own your masters. So Paperboy was feeling a little okay. So that's where that episode ended. It was a whole lot of, in the sense that there was a lot of stuff going on. And so here's what my thought is. As I just said just a few seconds ago, I think what that whole trip about this, him eating that edible and him having that whole trip, is he's starting to question who has his back, who doesn't have his back. He's now coming out of the fact, because you remember the episode with the phone. Paperboy had said something about he was feeling like he was in a rut because he is a rapper. That's something that he knows how to do, but that's something that he didn't want to do, but that's what he did because that's what he knew how to do. And he had that writer's block, right? And then Socks, in his attempt to be down with the gang, he takes the man's phone, hoping to beat up the other white boy to get some street cred so that he can come back into the group, because we don't even see Socks no more. He takes his phone. So with his phone being gone, you can kind of tell that part of him, a part of his life and part of who he is, has been pretty much tossed away. He doesn't have that urge or that artistry, or he's like living in the moment anymore. You remember how Paperboy is just always going with the flow and doing all kinds of stuff? But now he's starting to question. I think him being on this tour, I think him being on this journey, he's now starting to question it. He's starting to question the money. He's starting to question whether or not he has good representation. He's starting to question the people that he has around him, Darius, and how people are sucking up money from him, and also how he's wasting money. So it's going to be a situation, I think, that he is either, he's going to be really tired about doing this tour, because they seem to only be going to a lot of places in Europe. He seems to be very, very big over in Europe. I don't know how big he's going to be back when he comes back to the United States. So we'll see. So I'm trying to think, was there anything else? I think that's pretty much it. I think that this is a time that Paperboy is questioning, is starting to question everything, in which he should. He should start questioning everything. He should start getting deep in the business and the auxiliary stuff that goes along with the business. So, again, sometimes, like I said, these episodes can go over your head, but that's what I got out of it. The main thing is that he is questioning everything. So what do you all think? Did you like the episode? Are we happy to see the gang? Do you think that we're about to get another ACU event, an Atlanta Cinematic Universe episode, next episode? What do you think? Leave it down in the comments. Again, I'm Pamela. And I'm so glad that you're rocking. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers, even tell the folks that you can't stand, honey, that I'm over here doing these videos. Help me help you see me. All right? And as always, people, bye-bye.